The general had just entered the room when he heard gasps coming from everyone inside. He turned to see what was going on and was stunned by the sight in front of him. Sitting on the table in the middle of the room was an old photo, but it wasn't the content of the image that had shocked them all. It was who was pictured in it. Martha had been working for the military for many years, and had worked her way up to become one of the most highly respected generals in the entire army. She was known for her intelligence and leadership skills and had led many successful missions. But now she was sitting in front of her colleagues and superiors, and they were all staring at an old photo of her that had resurfaced. But how had this happened, and what did they stare at so intently? What secrets did this old picture hide, and why did it make the general so emotional? Martha looked around the room and saw the shocked expressions on everyone's faces. She knew that this photo was from a time when she was undercover, and she couldn't believe that it had been found. The photo showed her in a different time with a different face. A time when she had been on a mission that had changed everything. In the picture, Martha was wearing a blonde wig and sunglasses, and was dressed in civilian clothes. She was smiling and laughing, enjoying a night out with friends. It was a far cry from the stern, no-nonsense general that she was now. She couldn't believe that someone had dug up this photo and brought it to the meeting. She felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. Who had done this, and why? As she looked around the room, she saw Colonel James staring back at her. He was the only one who wasn't looking at the photo. He was staring directly at her, a smirk playing on his lips. Suddenly, it all made sense to Martha. This was James's doing. He had found the photo and brought it here to humiliate her. James was one of Martha's rivals in the army. He had always been jealous of her success and had tried to undermine her at every turn. He had never liked her and had made no secret of it. When he had been passed over for a promotion that Martha had received, he had vowed revenge. And now it seemed he was trying to take his revenge by embarrassing her in front of their colleagues. Martha felt her face burning with shame. She couldn't believe that James would stoop so low. But then she took a deep breath and composed herself. She was a general in the army. She wasn't going to let some jealous colonel get the better of her. She stood up and addressed the room. This photo is from a time when I was undercover on a very important mission, she said. It was a time when I had to disappear and become someone else. If my identity had been discovered, it could have compromised the mission and put lives at risk. The room was silent as Martha spoke. Everyone was captivated by her story. They had never known this side of Martha. I put my life on the line every day that I go to work, she continued. I do what needs to be done to protect our country, even if it means putting myself in danger. No one here knows what sacrifices I've made or what I'm willing to do, but I don't regret any of it because it's all for the greater good. Her voice was strong and confident. She was a woman on a mission, both then and now. Martha had been on a top-secret mission when she had taken the photo. She had been undercover as a civilian, living a double life and carrying out dangerous missions behind enemy lines. She had been successful, but it had come at a cost. She had had to say goodbye to her old life and the people she loved. She had had to become someone else, someone who could blend in and carry out her missions without being detected. But now her past was catching up with her. The photo was a reminder of the sacrifices she had made and the risks she had taken. But she wasn't afraid. She was proud of who she was and what she had done. I'm not ashamed of who I am or what I've done, she said. her voice ringing with conviction. "I'm proud of it." A wave of applause erupted in the room. Everyone had been moved by Martha's story. They had never understood what it was like to be undercover, to live a double life, and to put one's own safety on the line every day, but now they did. Martha had shown them that being a soldier wasn't just about fighting on the battlefield, it was about sacrifice, courage, and dedication. It was about being willing to put everything on the line for one's country. James, who had been smirking just moments before, now looked down in shame. He had thought he had gotten away with humiliating Martha, but he had miscalculated. He had thought he knew her, but he had been wrong. He had thought he could hurt her by bringing up her past, but he had only succeeded in making her stronger. Martha had been right. They didn't know what sacrifices she had made or what she was willing to do, but they would never forget what she had just told them. As the meeting continued, Martha could feel James's eyes on her. She knew that he was ashamed and that he regretted what he had done, but she didn't gloat in his shame. She knew that everyone makes mistakes, and that James was capable of good as well as bad. Instead, she focused on the task at hand. She had a briefing to give and a mission to discuss. She was a general, and she wasn't going to let anything distract her from her duty. As the meeting went on, Martha could sense a change in the room. Her colleagues and superiors were now listening intently to her every word. They had never seen her as anything more than a tough, no-nonsense soldier. They had never seen the woman behind the uniform, and now they did. They listened as she talked about her time undercover, the dangers she had faced and the sacrifices she had made. They were amazed by her courage and her dedication. They were inspired by her strength and her determination. When the meeting was over, Martha felt a sense of relief. She had been nervous about sharing her story, but she knew that it was the right thing to do. She had been hesitant, but she had done it anyway. And now she felt as though a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. As the others filed out of the room, Martha stayed behind. She needed to speak to James. She had forgiven him for what he had done, but she wanted to understand why he had done it. She wanted to know what was driving him. She found him in the hallway and stopped him before he could leave. "James," she said, her voice firm but kind, "we need to talk." James turned around, his face pale. He knew that Martha had confronted him, but he had hoped that she wouldn't remember what had happened in the meeting. He had thought that he could get away with it, but now he was caught. He tried to excuse himself, but Martha wouldn't hear it. She had seen the hatred in his eyes when he had looked at the photo. She knew that he had meant to hurt her. "Why did you do it, James?" she asked, her voice low. "Why did you try to humiliate me?" James hesitated, unsure how to respond. He had been caught. There was no point in denying what he had done. I'm sorry, Martha," he stammered. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I was just jealous. I've always felt that I was better than you, that I deserved your position. I never got the recognition I deserved, and I blamed you for it. I thought by bringing you down I would make myself look better, but I was wrong. You were right. I don't know what sacrifices you've made or what you're willing to do, but I do know that I'm in your debt. I owe you an apology and I'm sorry." Tears welled up in Martha's eyes as she heard James's apology. She knew that he was sincere. She could see the remorse in his eyes. She had never liked James, but she didn't hate him. She knew that he was a good soldier, even if he was misguided. She knew that he had made mistakes, but she also knew that he was capable of learning from them. She reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's all right, James," she said, her voice soft. "We all make mistakes. What matters is that we learn from them and move on. I forgive you." James looked up at Martha, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Martha," he whispered. "I won't ever forget what you've done for me." And with that, Martha let go of James. She knew that he would be punished for his actions, but she also knew that he would come back from it, stronger than ever.